A few weeks ago, I made a video about weird geographical phenomena within Europe, like how Germany is technically 2 countries away from the US in 3 different ways, or how the German city of Freiburg is closer to 10 foreign capitals than to the German capital Berlin. And although that video was kinda made in a rush because I couldn't think of any better ideas for a video that week, that video actually did quite well. So with that in mind, here's a rundown of some weird geographical phenomena in Europe's large neighbor, Asia. So first, as I talked about in my Central Asia video, Asia is absolutely gargantuan, especially once you take into account how culturally diverse it is. In physical size though, it is so big that Sapporo, Japan is actually further away from Izmir, Turkey than it is from Denver, Colorado. A theoretical direct flight from Izmir to Sapporo, despite being entirely within the same continent, would take well over 11 hours and cross 6 time zones. For reference, I here in Germany am 6 hours ahead of the US East Coast. In terms of countries and cultures, Asia contains countries as culturally varied as Japan, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Oman, Kazakhstan, and Armenia. With this in mind, Asia, like most continents, is very frequently divided into multiple different sections, namely East Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, West Asia, also known as the Middle East, Central Asia, and North Asia, also known as Russia. Though even these regions can still get incredibly big. In fact, although it is considered part of South Asia, Nepal is actually further away from Sri Lanka than it is from China. Wait, no, this fact is stupid. Okay, let's actually get into some of the facts here. For example, we all know that China is gigantic. In my video about weird European geography, I actually stated that China's westernmost point is in fact closer to Istanbul than it is to Shanghai. But India is also huge. Not just nothing to sneeze at, it's absolutely enormous. As you can see from the fact that the city of Dibrugarh in the state of Assam is actually about the same distance from the national capital of New Delhi as it is from Mongolia. Before India was its own country though, it was of course part of British India, a colony also comprising of Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. Thus, going from Sindak, Pakistan to the Lenya National Park in Myanmar, we can see that Sindak is actually closer by about 200 kilometers to Czechia. China is of course a gargantuan country as well, and with size definitely comes some weird geographical anomalies. For one, China extends further to the north, east, south, and obviously west than all of Korea and Bangladesh. Despite its large size, however, both physical and in terms of population, most of the western parts are largely empty. This has led to the creation of the imaginary Heihe-Tangchong line, or the Aihui-Tangchong line, between the cities of Heihe in Heilongjiang and Tangchong in Yunnan province, to the east of which lies 47% of China's land area, but 94% of its population, with the other 53% of its territory housing only 6%, a paltry 80 million people. Seriously though, that's like only the entire population of Germany. If I were to ask you how far Japan is from the US, you would probably say somewhere around 6,501.4 kilometers, or perhaps 2,195.7 kilometers from Atsu Station, Alaska. However, in reality, it's only about 594.2 kilometers between the islands of Farallón de Pájaros in the northernmost of the Mariana Islands and Iwo Jima. In fact, another interesting fact about Iwo Jima is that it is administered as part of the Ogasawara sub-prefecture, which is part of the Tokyo prefecture. So when someone says that Iwo Jima is administered by Tokyo, they don't necessarily mean in the sense that it's Japanese and Tokyo is the capital of Japan and all that, but in the sense that it's literally part of Tokyo itself, despite being over 1,100 kilometers away. In short, imagine if the US Virgin Islands weren't their own territory, but part of the District of Columbia itself. Or if Norfolk Island were part of the Australian Capital Territory. That's kind of what's going on here. Japan actually administers quite a few offshore island territories, possibly the most famous of which being Okinawa, a long chain of islands, one of which, Yonaguni, being only 107 kilometers from the east coast of Taiwan. That's even closer than the actually quite far off Matsu Islands, another series of islands administered by Taipei that are at their closest only 8 kilometers from mainland China. I'm not here to get into the sovereignty debate though, I'm here to go into Southeast Asia. The Philippines may seem like an island nation, but in fact, it is. However, some of the islands, especially the Mangi Islands in the Sulu Sea, come very close to other nations. In this case, Malaysia, which is less than 20 kilometers away from these islands. These islands are tiny, and with a population of over 9,000, they are also very densely packed. And access to the rest of the Philippines can be difficult at best. And in response to health risks, compounded by a lack of doctors, many actually seek treatment on the nearby Malaysian Bangi Island. So yeah, I guess this was a pretty good issue for me to put out into the world. Speaking of the islands in the Philippines, however, the Philippines obviously has a lot of them. About 7,641 of them to be specific, as of the last time we counted them, of which only about 2,000 are actually inhabited or even named. And even then, just the top 50 islands comprise 99% of the national population. That, however, doesn't even come close to that of nearby Indonesia, which has somewhere in the ballpark of around 18,000 islands, though counting that many islands is tricky over such a large area. Since, as you're probably aware by now, Indonesia is also absolutely giant, though it doesn't even come close to having the most islands of any nation, with Sweden alone having over 220,000. Indonesia, however, has the most populated island in the world, beating out even the likes of Great Britain, Honshu, and even Australia. Java, with a population of over 140 million, which alone would make it the 9th most populous country in the world, just tied with Russia. Or I guess 8th, because obviously Indonesia wouldn't be in the top 10 anymore. This likely has something to do with the fact that it also has most of Indonesia's largest cities, including the capital and largest city, Jakarta,